We just got Mathmech Circular. If you don't know, last August, Power of the Elements came out in the TCG, and this introduced Sprite, Tearlaments, and Mathmech Circular. Sprite and Tearlaments completely dominated the meta, but Mathmech wasn't that far behind. However, now in Master Duel, we do not have Sprite or Tearlaments, and yet Mathmech could actually stand shoulder to shoulder with these insane giants. Also, shout out to Luke Tyler. He actually topped a YCS with Mathmech, and I basically learned from his list, and then of course we had to adapt it to Master Duel. So first of all, we have a lot of hand traps. This deck can create a Heat Soul. Heat Soul will draw you a bunch of cards, and you're hopefully going to draw into a lot of hand traps. So not only are you going to have like a solid board, but it's going to be backed up by hand traps. So even if your opponent can attempt to break the board, the hand traps will probably make them fail. So for that reason, triple Effect Veiler. We also play Small World, which can hopefully find us our Mathmech Circular, because this card is absolutely broken. And so a lot of these hand traps are actually going to be required in order for Small World to consistently find us what we need. So triple Veiler, then triple Maxi, because Maxi is absolutely broken, then triple Ash to stop the Maxi from happening. Then we have double Sigma, triple Addition, and triple Subtraction. The more of these you draw, the more easily you're going to be playing true hand traps and boards. 2 Diameter and triple Circular. So Circular, of course, being the reason that we can even reliably get to Super Factorial at all, which is the reason that now Mathmech is going to be broken. Next, we have triple Parallel Exceed, because, you know, this deck is like a Cyber's deck. We also have our rank 4s, and then a bunch of these cards are actually able to make link 1s that then makes it very easy to abuse the Parallel Exceed. We also have one Nibiru, because Nibiru is going to be part of Small World, basically being a bridge, as they say. But it's also solid, you know, to draw into with Maxi. And once again, we're going to be drawing so much with Heat Soul that we hopefully have like a solid hand of hand traps. Now, if you're very afraid of going second into a variety of decks, you might want to run more of this. Maybe you want to run even more hand traps, but you know, you got to find a little balance here. You have triple Signet Mining, once again a way for us to search our Mathmech Circular. One Equation, this is going to help us OTK. Triple Small World, this is going to help us search our Circular. And then triple Cosmic Cyclone. Now this one might be a little confusing for some, but essentially right now, some of the best decks do not like to see Cosmic Cyclone. Think about the top decks right now. We have Runic, which always relies on the Runic Fountain to really have this endless power. You just Cosmic Cyclone the Fountain and they cry. Branded, they will often have a Branded in Red set. You Cosmic Cyclone the Branded in Red, and now they have to waste it. They can't make a Guardian Chimera on your turn. Flu, they will often have the Trap set. You just Cosmic Cyclone in the standby phase, and now they're going to cry as well. And then of course, any annoying Floodgate deck in general, you just Cosmic Cyclone those Floodgates. So overall, not only does this deck draw a bunch, so you're going to be drawing into your Cosmic Cyclones, this is also just a really solid staple right now for the meta. Next, we have 2 Call by the Grave, because of course hand traps are annoying, especially Maxi. And then 1 Crossout Designator. Once again, we also have a lot of good targets in the deck for it. We have Veiler, we have Maxi, we have Ash, and we have Nib. Now, some people might say, hey, why don't you run Infinite Impermanence in this deck as another crossout target? It's also a hand trap. The issue is, if you draw into Imperm with Heat Soul, you cannot use it because you have face-up cards on the field. So I really wanted to have hand traps that do work while you already, you know, draw into them. So if you think, oh, this meta is going to be maybe good for DD Crow, maybe you want to run that as well, especially if Mathmech becomes a powerful deck. Like if Mathmech becomes the best deck in the format, you definitely want to be adding some DD Crows in here. Great against Branded, because you can basically make Branded in red not resolve. It's also insane against Mathmech. DD Crow really hurts Mathmech. And so if we see a bunch of DD Crows being played for Mathmech, then we also want to run DD Crow at least once so we can cross out it. That's a little bit of a meta game, you know. We'll have to wait and see how many people actually play this deck before making that decision. And then we have 1 Mathmech Super Factorial, which is of course the most insane unfair trap card that makes it all work. Now for the extra deck, which is where a lot of the bullshit happens with Super Factorial, we have Laplation. It says 3 level 4 monsters. If a Mathmech card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can detach 1 material from this card instead. If this card is Xyz summoned, you can detach up to 3 materials from it, then choose that many effects. You cannot choose the same effect twice, and you resolve them in the listed order, skipping any that were not chosen. You send a random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, you send a monster your opponent controls to the graveyard, and you send 1 spell or trap your opponent controls to the graveyard. So this is basically like a, is it a Trishula? Or are we gonna say that? Maybe. So you basically Super Factorial into this and make your opponent hate their life. And then we have 2 Alambertian. We have 1 Link Spider, which you use if you get nibbed. We have 1 Almirage, because a lot of these hand traps can actually turn into Almirage, and so if you then have Parallel Exceed, you now have an arrow to summon it to and still pop off. Lingeribo is the same reason. It requires 1 level 4 or lower Cyberse monster, so any of these Cyberses can then at least least make a parallel exceed. Then we have Wicked, we have Update Jammer, which is part of the OTK. I assume if you've been playing Cyber's decks, you already know how Update Jammer into access code, you know, makes the OTK every time. You have IP Masquerena, just the most generic thing to make, and of course if you're locked into Cybers, this is still a Cybers. And then we have Splash Mage. This is part of making Heat Soul, but we're running 2 specifically because Luke Tyler told me to. So if you use this to make your Heat Soul, now you also still have one to make your Transcode. So then we have our 1 Transcode Talker, our 1 Heat Soul, which is the heart and soul of the deck, 1 Avermax, which is something good to get from IP, and of course it's still a Cybers, and then finally Access Code Talker, which is the way we're going to be OTKing in this deck. So that's a nice Mathmech deck ready to take on the ladder right now. Again, if we see more Mathmech on the ladder, if we see Mathmech really taking over the whole game, you will want to start running DD Crows, and you will definitely want to run at least one so you can just cross out it as well, because this deck does not like getting DD Crowed. So that's the Mathmech deck. Hope you found this interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.